The United States just lifted sanctions on Russian oil, while American jets are bombing Iran. And oil is sitting above $100 a barrel. Let that sink in for a moment. Washington is literally pouring money into the Kremlin's war machine, while spending billions to fight a war that nearly 6 in 10 Americans already think has gone too far. Today we are pulling apart some stories that connect in ways most people are not seeing. How the Iran conflict is secretly funding Russia. Why Trump just gave NATO an ultimatum that could break the alliance. Markets in freefall for 5 straight weeks. Airport security agents working without pay, and a housing market that has not been normal in almost a decade. Stay with me until the end, because that last story, the one about who is actually winning from all of this chaos, might change how you see everything else. If any of this matters to you, and I think it does, hit that subscribe button right now. We spend hours every single day digging through sources, cross-checking facts, filtering out the noise so you do not have to. If you want to support that work, there is a super thanks button right below this video, or you can become a channel sponsor. Every bit of support helps us stay independent, and honestly, it means more than you know. Now here is the story that should be on every front page but somehow is not. A former senior American diplomat, someone who served as ambassador to one of the most powerful countries on earth, just laid out a devastating contradiction at the heart of American foreign policy. Washington removed sanctions on Russian oil. At the same time, oil prices have surged past $100 a barrel because of the Iran conflict. You know what that means? Every dollar added to the price of a barrel goes straight into Russia's budget. You are right, straight into funding the war against Ukraine. And it gets worse. The administration also permitted sales of Iranian oil. So let me get this straight. We are at war with Iran, bombing their territory, but also allowing their oil to flow. And we lifted restrictions on Russian oil while Russia wages war in Europe. This is not strategy. This is a contradiction so deep it looks like sabotage. But here is the part nobody is talking about. Ukraine is actually winning on the battlefield right now. Ukrainian drones are hitting Russian export terminals near major northern cities, striking power stations deep inside Russia. The diplomat urged the administration to return to supporting Ukraine and pressure the Kremlin. Because Europe, America's largest trading partner and biggest foreign investor, needs stability. And right now, American policy is doing the opposite of providing it. Think about it for a second. The Iran war was supposed to demonstrate American strength. Instead, it handed Russia a financial lifeline. That is not projection of power. That is a gift wrapped in missile smoke. And now, this is where it gets really interesting. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans, 59%, believe the military operation in Iran has gone too far. Trump's approval rating is hovering around 40%. But here is the trap. 2/3 of Americans still believe it is critical to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, and roughly the same number are worried about rising gas prices at home. You see where this is going. Americans want the nuclear threat eliminated, but they do not want to pay $4 a gallon to do it. The administration is caught between the goal and the cost. And with congressional elections approaching, that gap between what people support in theory and what they are willing to endure in practice, that gap is a political minefield. Now let me explain why this affects every single one of you. Trump just proposed something that could reshape the Western alliance entirely, a pay-to-play model for NATO. Countries that do not spend 5% of their GDP on defense would lose their voting rights on military operations, including decisions about the alliance's most sacred commitment, collective defense. His reasoning, allied nations refused to help with the Iran operation. So now he says they should not get a say in military decisions either. Listen, 5% of GDP on defense is almost physically impossible for most European nations. This is not a reform proposal. This is an ultimatum. Whoever pays calls the shots. The question is, what happens when the music those shots are calling is actual artillery fire? And you know what happened next. The markets answered. All 3 major American indexes just posted their 5th consecutive week of losses, the longest losing streak in 4 years. The Dow dropped nearly 2%. The broader market fell over 1.5%, and the tech-heavy index crashed more than 2%. The biggest tech companies became the heaviest drag, with major chipmakers down 2% and major retailers down 4%. But wait, it actually gets worse. The futures market for interest rates is no longer pricing in a single rate cut for the entire year. Not one. The market used to expect relief. Now it expects nothing. Investors are not trading on earnings anymore. They are playing geopolitical analysts, and that historically never ends well. While Wall Street bleeds, Washington cannot even agree on how to keep the lights on. The Senate approved partial funding for Homeland Security, but the House Speaker rejected it, promising an alternative that would only cover operations through late May. Democrats refused to vote for border enforcement funding without reforms. And here is the human cost. Up to 40% of airport security agents have been missing shifts because they have not been paid. Lines at airports stretch for hours. Security workers go unpaid while lawmakers argue about wording. Classic division of labor. One side works for nothing, the other argues about nothing. If you are finding this valuable, drop a comment below. Tell me which story hit you hardest. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time, because the algorithm only shows this to more people when you engage. A like, a comment, a share, it all makes a difference. Now, here is something that should terrify every defense strategist in the Pentagon. The economics of modern warfare are completely upside down. The United States and its allies spend millions of dollars on interceptor missiles to shoot down drones that cost between $20,000 and $50,000 each. One single interceptor costs around $4 million. For that same money, you could buy over 100 disposable attack drones. Iran has been mass-producing these cheap drones, and America is scrambling to catch up. The military just deployed its own low-cost drone system for the first time. And here is the irony. It looks remarkably similar to the Iranian model it was designed to counter. For decades, wealthy nations controlled the skies. Cheap drones are rewriting that equation. At this exchange rate, even a country under sanctions can afford a very long war. And that war is already hitting you where it hurts most, your home. Mortgage rates in America just jumped to 3-month highs because of the Iran conflict. The spring buying season, traditionally the strongest period for housing, is frozen. Analysts say the market has been slowly recovering from the chaos that started several years ago, but this new spike in rates has killed buyer momentum all over again. The picture is not even uniform. In the southern states, prices are coming down because builders overbuilt during the migration wave, but in the Northeast and Midwest, supply remains tight and prices stay elevated. A normal housing market in America is something everyone has heard about but nobody has seen in almost 8 years. And now, the story I saved for last, because it ties everything together. Trump wanted to be a peacemaker. He positioned himself as the deal maker who would end the conflict in Europe. Instead, he became a wartime president. The irony is almost poetic. A newspaper closely aligned with one of the most powerful media moguls published a piece arguing that the strike on Iran sent a crystal clear message to both the Kremlin and Beijing. And maybe it did. But the question is what exactly that message was. Was it American strength or was it American overreach? Because here is what actually happened. Europe was forced to increase defense spending. The Kremlin did not get the quick capitulation in Ukraine it was hoping for, and China is watching, taking notes. The Ukrainian president said his people will never forgive anyone who forces them to give up territory. He is trapped. Give up land, lose legitimacy at home. Refuse, lose Washington's support. And the one person who got exactly what he wanted out of all this chaos, the man in the Kremlin, time and $100 oil. You see, that is the thread running through every single story today. The war, the markets, the housing crisis, the NATO ultimatum, the unpaid security workers, they are all connected, and the connection leads to a simple, uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the biggest winner in a conflict is the one who is not even fighting in it. Every piece of research we do, every source we cross-check, every fact we verify takes real time and real effort. We read dozens of reports so you get one clear picture. We do this because you deserve news that is honest, not just loud. A like tells the algorithm this video matters. A subscription means you will not miss what comes next. And if you want to go further, channel sponsorship or super thanks directly funds the independent journalism behind every episode. We are not backed by corporations or political donors. We answer to you and nobody else. That independence has a cost, and your support is what covers it. Drop a comment below, share your perspective, push back on something I said. That conversation is what makes this community real. Thank you for being here and for caring enough to stay informed. It matters more than you think.